Hey, so I'm really excited to go over this new training module because this one is one that is really important and it's going to teach you so much about your food, which I feel like is the biggest thing that is lacking in so many types of diets and meal plans and things that you can research and find and try on your own. This is going to really explain a lot about food, and the more that you understand what the foods are in terms of carbs, fats, and proteins, and higher fat and lower fats, and learning more of portion sizes and what's setting you over and what's going to enable you to better hit your macros, then you're going to intuitively navigate your day on your own without having to follow a meal plan that you don't really understand, without feeling like if you stray from a certain protocol or meal plan that you're going to have failure, and you're really going to know how to naturally navigate your day with your meals because you know your foods better. So let's jump right in. So macros are something we eat every day. A lot of people get really intimidated by the word macros, and they think it's something that they have to majorly change about their life and start implementing, when macros are something that we do every day. We eat carbs, fats, and proteins every day. It's just the amounts of the ratios of the carbs, fats, and proteins are typically off with each person unless they truly learn these things that we're about to learn. So we want to learn these things to maximize results and to get in enough protein and to stay in the carbs and fats range that you want to be in within your calorie bracket. So every day we eat macros, carbs, fats, proteins. What we eat calculates into your caloric total. Your carbs, fats, and proteins have a gram amount that calculates into your calories. So a carb is carb dense. It's carb dense first and foremost. Protein is protein dense first and foremost. And fat dense foods are fat dense. But carbs can also be higher in lower fat. Proteins can be higher in lower fat. And fats can also have a little bit of a carb count in them as well, but fats are fat dense foods, and your vegetables and some of your fat dense foods will have a carb count in them as well, a very small amount, but that does go towards your overall intake by the end of the day with what it totals into that factor. Okay, so carbs are 4 calories per gram. So say something is 20 grams of carbs, that would be 20 times 4. So that would be 80 calories worth of carbs. Your protein is also the same. It's going to be 4 calories per gram. So that's the same thing. But your fats are 9 calories per gram. Your fats are going to be higher calorie per gram. So that's why that is something that you really want to be able to pay closer attention to, especially in the beginning of a fitness journey. So that's why smaller portions of fats like butter, oil, avocado, they are jam-packed with fats. So we have to be really conscious of our portion sizes. So sometimes, for example, if you had a half of an avocado, but you marked it down as a fourth of an avocado, that's going to be a big difference with your calories and with your fat grams, because it is pretty precise with the portion sizes, because a little bit makes a big difference. So that's something to really pay closer to attention to in the beginning. A lot of times people can be really off with their serving sizes of peanut butter, of oils, and they don't realize that they actually put 4 teaspoons of butter into their pasta or whatever it is that you're making, and they thought it was 2. So that can make a big difference with calories. So that's something to pay closer attention to, which we will recognize that and totally take that on when it comes about. If it's in your food logs, and say you had something like butter or peanut butter or an avocado, I definitely want to make sure, like triple checking that those portion sizes are paid close attention to, being more accurate on your food log. But it's okay if you go over every now and then in your fats. It's when you significantly go over them consistently, that's when it makes a big difference. But a few times a week is totally fine. Okay, so this food list should really help explain serving sizes. So let me break it down real quick. So protein dense items are approximately about 15 to 30 grams per serving, depending on the item. So it really just depends on if you're eating chicken, steak, shrimp. It just depends on the item, but it ranges from 15 to 30 grams per serving with protein dense items. Carbs that are starchy, whole grain type of carbs range from about 16 to 25 grams. Things like fruit are about 15 to 20 grams of carbs per serving, depending on the fruit item. And you'll realize this when you log your foods. If you're paying closer attention to those type of things, when you log, you'll see what is what. Fat-dense foods like cheese, avocado, nuts, those things range from about 7 grams to 15 grams per serving, depending on what it is. So if you had nuts, that's different. That's a different fat gram per serving than cheese would be. And paying closer attention to your nutritional label will really help. You'll almost memorize them over time, because a lot of us eat the same foods a lot during the week. So you'll sort of almost memorize these things without even realizing it over time. And vegetables are about 3 to 6 grams of carbs per serving. Very low carb count. And about 25 to 30 calories per serving. So vegetables are obviously something that isn't too much to worry about, and you want to try to get them in when you can. But okay, so this food list, or this food like diagram, I really like, because it's just really going to help you understand foods better. The main thing to really understand about your macros is that learning what is higher fat and lower fat. And then you're going to navigate your day a lot better on your own, just in your own head, instead of having to log your foods, follow a meal plan, and feeling like a robot, you know? So for example, what I'm showing is that some fat-dense foods have protein in them, some don't. Some protein items have fats, some don't. Some carbs have fats, some don't. So for example, peanuts or nuts, they have protein in them, but avocado and stuff like butter and oil doesn't. Fruit is a 0 fat carb, and stuff like donuts, like pastry type things, are a higher fat carb. Chicken is a 0 fat protein, but things like steak and red meats are higher fat. So this will help majorly, and these are just some examples to show the different types. And this right here is going to show you that if you want to fit something in your macros, you can do that. And what I mean by that is I'm literally breaking down the macros of the Snickers bar versus the nutrient dense items. So everything that we eat by the end of the day is going to register in your body as carbs, fats, proteins, whether it's nutrient dense or not. So if you had a Snickers bar, it's still going to be 14 grams of fat, a tiny bit of protein, but it still counts, and 35 grams of carbs towards your overall intake by the end of the day. It's going to go in, it's going to factor into your totals. And that calculates into 280 calories of those macros. Or if you had a banana, which is a carb, and if you had avocado with that, which is a fat dense item, you're going to get this around the same amount of those macros with the fats and the carbs that I mentioned with the Snickers. So both are going to total the same with the macros, and both are going to go towards your overall intake by the end of the day. It's just one was nutrient dense and one wasn't. And it's okay to fit in a Snickers bar if you want to. Now, should we do that every single day? No. But theoretically, you could, and you could still lose fat. But that is just a little food for thought, a little insight, and a little way to view macros and your caloric intake in foods differently. And it should really, really help. So I hope this helps a lot. Because once people start realizing this, they don't have that mindset like, oh my gosh, I had a Snickers bar today, I ruined all my progress. Because really, in reality, you haven't. You've only ruined your progress if you have stopped doing your workouts, you're not moving as much, you're eating way over your calorie bracket that you should be in, and you're doing that consistently. That's when things have gone south. But this is totally doable and totally fine. This is just another food list that's going to break down higher and lower fat carbs and proteins and show fat dense foods. So this is kind of a go-to sheet that I like you guys to have on hand or separated into a photo album so you can look at it and keep learning and keep kind of memorizing. But this is a basic food list of higher and lower fat carbs, higher and lower fat proteins, and some fat dense foods. It also shows fats that have protein and fats and proteins that have fats. But you'll see in that purple list that it'll show the fats that have the proteins with the asterisk marks, and then the other ones don't. So moving on, this is going to show you an example of eating around 1,800 calories, but with different macro splits. So you could still hit 1,800 calories, but your foods and your macros are going to be different within that. So an example of not hitting your macros, but hitting your calorie mark is an example on the left. With obviously you're going to have higher fat items and a lot of emptier foods. So that's going to total lower protein and higher fat, higher carbs, but still hitting that calorie mark, versus the list on the right showing you hitting adequate protein and not going over your carbs and fats within that 1,800 calorie bracket. So your macro ratios are different, and they're more of where they should be, hitting your macros. And these meals are an example. Eggs and bacon and an apple, a protein shake, chicken and half cup rice with butter, a small bag of chips and cottage cheese, turkey burger with cheese. Those are going to be a good range of a lot of protein, getting in fats and carbs, but without going over your fats and carbs, and getting in higher protein. So this is just a good visual way of what most people start off doing on the left and what we want to work towards hitting on the right. So a lot of times people are in the right calorie bracket or very close to it, but their macros are off. So we have to change the ratios. And that's why when I do the food logs, when I look at your food logs and do the assessment, kind of like this, like a video, I'm showing you what we could have reduced, what we could have added in, and just how you got to that place, and how we just need to rearrange and tweak it a little bit in order to hit your macros, which you'll learn so much each time. And I do those about once a week. And this is just an additional food list to view the different foods differently, with carbs, fats, and proteins. Every food list is going to generally have the same foods on them with carbs, fats, and proteins. And some are more detailed and in-depth with a lot more. So this should help a little bit more too with a visual. And it's basically showing your vegetables, your zero fat fruit carbs, proteins, your starchy carbs, and fat dense foods. But this wraps up this training module, and I really hope this helps. Everything that I talked about is going to tremendously help how you navigate your day, how you view food, how you choose and place things together a little bit differently, which makes all of the difference down the road, because every little thing equals a greater radical difference at the end of the road. So let me know if you have any questions. I hope this helps so much. These are the exact things that truly changed my mindset and how I navigated my health and fitness journey, especially with nutrition. So I'm going to wrap it up. Let me know if you have any questions, and hopefully this helps so much.